योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिनानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः हरिः ओम्. In the previous session, we had finished looking at Sutra 4.8, which talked about how the vasanas get activated or manifested in accordance with the bhog or the vipaka, it is the fruits of past action being experienced. In accordance with that, the vasanas get manifested or activated. We also saw what are vasanas and how it is said vasanaha smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt. So the vasanas, they bring in the mindset that makes one go through that experience. If the experience is a pleasant one, the vasanas make it desirable because the vasanas have been created from a previous experience of the same nature. If it is unpleasant, the vasanas are generated and they lead to the mindset that is averse to that particular experience, and so on. So we had seen tatastad vipākānuganānām eva avivyaktir vasanānām, and this has been dealt with along with the commentary in detail in the previous session. So with that context, we continue right now with Sutra 4.9 as to how these vasanas operate. So we'll learn a little bit more about it. So Sutra 4.9 says, jātideśakālavyavahitānāmapyānantaryaṃ smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt. It says, jāti, desha, kala. So, vyavahitānāṃ means separated by space, which is, or region, which is desha, separated by time, which is kala, and separated by birth, or separated by the type of birth, which is jati. So even though it is not happening in succession, it is happening after a long gap, and we are in the context of yoga darshan and the karma siddhanta, so we can say this is happening after many births, maybe in a different place, in a different time, and often after having various different kinds of births. So in spite of that separation, there is ānantaryaṃ. Ānantaryaṃ means anantarata. Avyavahitatvam means it is as though there has been no separation, which means the vasanas will get activated, the corresponding vasanas get activated immediately without all the separation that has happened since the last time that vasana had to arise. In spite of that, there is a right set of vasanas, which was mentioned in the previous sutra, where it is said anugunam. So the right set of vasanas will get activated. And why is that the case? Because smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt, because the vasanas or the vasana samskara and the smriti are ekarupa. They are of the same nature, are of the same type. So the anantaryam is of the vasanas. So in this sutra, we have to sort of join the vasananam from the previous sutras to say jātideśakālavyavahitānāmapyānantaryaṃ vasanānam anantaryam smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt. So now in the commentary, when we go through Vyasa's bhashya, this will get more and more clear. Okay. So Vyasa begins by saying, वृषदंश विपाकोदयः स्वव्यञ्जकाञ्जनाभिव्यक्तः स यदि जातिशतेन वा दूरदेशतया वा कल्पशतेन वा व्यवहितः पुनश्च स्वव्यञ्जकाञ्जन एव उदीयात् द्राग् इत्येव पूर्व अनुभूत वृषदंश विपाक अभिसंस्कृता वासना upadaya yajyeta. So what does this mean? So vrushyadansha means a cat. Okay. So now suppose there is a fruition of a certain karmas, as we have seen in the previous chapters, the second chapter, when the karma, the fruition is of the nature of jati, ayu, bhoga, which is the type of birth, the span of life, and the experiences in the life. So here, as an example, which is known as drishtantam, Vyasa is considering a cat, where the karmas have fructified so that a birth of a cat is in the form of a cat is going to happen. So then, vrishadansha vipakodayah svavyanjakanjana abhivyaktah. That is Vyasa's first line. So, let's say that the karmashaya is such that the fruition in the form of the birth of a cat is going to happen. Then the manifesting samskaras, they get activated. So that is known as svavyanjakanjana. So the causes or the triggers which will make that manifest get activated. Now, sa yadi. So sa means that. So here it is referring to the karmashaya. Now if it is jati shatena va, suppose there have been 100 births in between since the last birth as a cat. So jati shatena va, dura deshataya va, had it been a completely different place. Kalpa shatena va, maybe even 100 kalpas have passed. So there has been such a time span, even if it is separated by that. Punascha, once again, svavyanjakanjana eva udiyat. The vasanas will get activated that are corresponding to that birth in the form of a cat. Drag ityeva, it will happen right away without any gap. Purva anubhuta vrishadamsha vipaka abhisamskrita vasana upadaya vyajyeta. So the previously experienced birth in the form of a cat, and here you have to bear in mind that the cycle of birth and death is said to be anadi. So there is always something similar that has happened earlier. So that is an underlying assumption as something that is understood. So previously experienced similar kind of a birth. Those experiences led to vasanas. Okay. So that is, as we have seen, the difference between karma samskara and vasana samskara. Vasana samskara get created, are the imprints that get created as a result of bhoga, as a result of experiences. Karma samskara get created as part of the actions and activities. Then karma samskara give rise to similar type of actions and activities, that is karma. Vasana samskara gives rise to similar kind of smriti or mental states and tendencies. So here, the purva anubhuta, previously experienced fruition of the same kind of a form of a cat, by that abhisamskritaha, by that the ones that have been conditioned. Such vasanas upadaya vyajyete. They will get ready to become manifest and cause that conditioning of that particular creature. Kasmat yato vyavahitānāmapī āsām sadrisham karma abhivyanjakam nimitti bhutam iti anantaryam eva. So Vyasa himself asked, how come? Because even though there has been a gap or a large separation, sadrisham karma abhivyanjakam nimitti bhutam, because the same types of karmas are undergoing fruition. The same type of karmas, their vipaka or fruition is getting activated. So they become the trigger, they become the nimitta. So it is a nimitti bhutam. So they become the triggers. And because those vasanas are immediately getting activated, manifest, even after such a long time, there is anantaryam. It is as though it is happening in succession, where the gap has not affected it at all. Kutascha smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt yatha anubhavaha tatha samskaraha te ca karmavasana-anurūpaha yatha ca vasanas tatha smrtiriti jātideśakālavyavahitebhyah samskarebhyah smritihi. Now, the key point is being made. So, okay, from where is this being said? Kutascha. This is smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt. So the smriti, okay, smriti we have seen in the very first chapter when we dealt with it. In some sense, it is memory, but it is much more than memory. So memory is about facts, experiences, etc. But here it is a certain condition of the mind that arises along with its tendency, along with the sense of a previous experience. For example, when one is born as a cow, the smriti that grass is to be eaten, that arises automatically. Okay, that is from the vasana from the previous birth as a cow. Now that particular thing, that the automatic knowledge and tendency that grass needs to be eaten, that also forms under the umbrella of the word smriti. However, normally the English word memory will not capture it. Okay, so here we are referring to the broad term smriti. This is smṛtisaṃskārayorekarūpatvāt. So the vasana samskara and the smriti are always of the same form or always of the same nature. Yatha anubhavaha tatha samskaraha. So now we go from where it all began. Anubhava. Anubhava means experience. So yatha anubhavaha tatha samskaraha. Whatever is the nature of experiences. The samskaras, here the term samskara is referring to vasana samskaras, so vasanas. So whatever the nature of the experiences, so is the nature of the vasana samskaras. So it begins from experiences, it generates or leaves behind imprints which are known as vasana samskaras. Techa karma vasana-anurūpaha. Now, these vasanas or these samskaras that the term was referred to, what is the nature of these samskaras that got created from the anubhava or the experience? So those experiences, those samskaras, they are of the form of karma vasanas. Okay, so this is how it continues. So karma vasana means karma janya samskaras, and the vasanas are anurupa. They are of the same nature. So normally here there are some terms that are sort of used that we have to understand. Now when it says karma vasana, it refers to karma samskara. When it says, often when it is only samskara, it means vasana, which is anubhava janya. Okay, so here we have to be sort of clear as to what means what. So the samskaras that get created from anubhava or experiences, they are according to they follow the same nature as the karma samskara. So te cha karma vasanānurupaha. Then what? Yatha cha vasanaha tatha smritihi. The way the vasana gets created, whenever they get manifested or activated, the smriti is of the same nature. So like we said, smriti, we have to think about it in terms of the mental state, conditioning, mental tendencies, or the overall effect on the mind, okay? As in knowing it, or being drawn towards it, or being drawn away from it, etc. So that is all a result of the vasana generating a certain smriti, which then generates the tendency around it. So yatha cha vasana tatha smritiriti jātideśakālavyavahitebhyah samskarebhyah smritihi. So it is being said clearly that it is the vasana that causes the smriti, and therefore even if the vasanas are from some birth which was had many births ago in a different place or in a different time, etc., whenever those vasanas get triggered, that kind of smriti will get triggered. Smritescha punaha samskara ityevamete smrtisaṃskārāः karmāṣaya vrittilābhavasāt vyadyante. So the smriti will then again lead to samskaras. The smriti, then there is tendencies, which is also an experience which leads to samskaras. It will create an action of a similar nature. That action also the action is a result of undergoing a fruition. So there is again an anubhava. That anubhava is going to lead to vasanas and so on. So because of that, karmāṣaya vrittilābhavasāt. So why is all this happening? Because the karmāṣaya, or a certain part of the karmāṣaya, is attaining the vritti, which means it is being part of the present. It is being vartamana. So the karmāṣaya has several samskaras, karma, vasanas, etc. But certain karmas get activated or manifested and lead to a certain type of jati, ayu, bhoga, certain type of a birth, lifespan, and experiences. So let's say in this example where something is born as a cat, that particular part of the karmāṣaya is getting activated, and that is known as vrittilābha. And when that happens, naturally the corresponding vasanas get triggered, then automatically the corresponding smriti gets triggered, and automatically certain anubhavas happen, which will again generate vasana, and that is what is being the siddhanta is being laid out, that this is how the mechanism operates. What is not covered here is which karmāṣaya will have vrittilābha, which karmas are getting activated to lead to a certain birth, lifespan, and experiences. But that has been covered in detail in the second chapter, where we have seen how activities lead to karma, and then there are so many different types of karma, and how it gets up. There is a pradhana karma and the secondary karma, and then niyata vipaka, aniyata vipaka. All of that we have seen in the second chapter. So here there is another aspect of that being covered, which is related to vasana and smriti. So that was about actions and the results or the fruits. This is about experiences and the smriti thereof. Atascha, and therefore, vyavahitānāmapi nimitta naimittika bhavanuchhedat anantaryam eva siddham. So therefore, Vyasa says, even though separated, because that is the main point being considered in the sutra. So therefore, even though separated, because there is a nimitta naimittika bhava, because the trigger, whenever those triggers are present, those vasanas get activated. It doesn't matter when those vasanas were generated, where they were generated, That birth was how long ago? All that separation is immaterial. And therefore, anantaryam eva siddham. This is okay, and that is why we have to understand that as far as the vasanas and their activation is concerned, which was which we are dealing with in the a few sutras, let's say 7, 8, 9, etc. Because they sort of began with karma, shukla, akrishna, yoginam, trividam, itaresham. So when we started talking about the yogi's karma being distinctive, and we entered into this topic of the karma, then we talked about vasanas, and here we are a certain part of that theory is being clarified, which is the one about anantaryam, that it doesn't matter whether the vasanas corresponding to the current fruition generating the smriti, whether there is a gap since they were activated, there is still an anantaryam. It is almost as though it is successive, because the moment the manifesting cause, the triggers are in place, the right set of vasanas, however old, however separated, will get activated automatically. So what is happening here in the Kaivalya Pada in this place? More and more detail of the operation of the chitta and certain constitutions of the chitta corresponding to the karma theory is being explained to us. So that is Sutra 4.9.
So we are actually in a very fascinating topic, subject matter, which is metapsychological matter, and which also tells us about our manomaya kosha. We know there are pancha koshas, and the manomaya kosha, the marvel of it. We will also be getting some taste of our making. Now, how do we come to this sutra? Because the previous sutra said, vipaka anuguna vasana. We know that in karma siddhanta, our actions always reap fruits. Some fruits we know that they are sopakrama, some are virupakrama. So some fructify immediately, some instantaneously, some immediately, some without much delay, some with delay, some with long delay. So that's how the karma and karma phala relationship is. So vipaka anuguna vasana, for we people who are in committance of shukla karma, krishna karma, mishra karma, which Patanjali told us in the previous sutras, that we have white, black and brown, or virtuous, vicious and mixed kind of karmas, while the yogis have a transcendent class of karma. And with our karmas, we have to face the fruitions. While in case of a yogi whose karmas are ashukla krishna, doesn't have to face the consequences. So when we have to face the consequences, the astikas also know that we go through 8.4 million yonis and several jiva jatis. We have become all that, all various life forms that we know about, or even we do not know about. We go through all those life forms. So here, our karmas are such which are going to fructify. Now, if the karmas are going to fructify, we will have to transmigrate to different life forms. And we are told that there are 8.4 classes, jiva jati. Now, suppose our immediately preceding life, it is not necessary that we are human beings and have become human beings. It is possible in our previous incarnation, we could be subhumans, we could be superhumans, not in human form, but some other form, life form. So it is possible, and immediately following this life, it is not necessarily that we will be becoming human beings immediately or once again. We might get into different yonis because of our karmas. The karmas fructify and give us the fruition in the form of taking birth in various kinds of life forms at various states of each of those life forms. Not that all life forms have identical life conditions. Each of the life forms have different life conditions. So the fruition can happen that way. The fructification is like that. So let us hypothetically say that next life we are going to be taking birth in a cat form, as Vyasa has used the example of Marjara Yoni. So suppose the next life, because of our karmas of this life and the Sanchita karma, we have to go into cat class of life form. We don't just take the body of cat by taking birth in a womb of a cat. It's not just the body, but it is the tendency and whole mindset of cats, class of cat. So we know the class of cat goes after mice. And the mice go after cereals and grocery materials. So these are different tendencies. Mushaka vasana, Marjara vasana, Shwana vasana. So when we become some other subhuman class of life, we also will be having the corresponding vasanas. We just don't take Marjara body to become Marjara, cat's body to become cat. We also have the cat's mind, cat's psyche, cat's tendencies to get into the cat class. So that is how the karma vipaka is going to take place. It doesn't ensure that we will be human beings in next life, having been human beings in this life. So the vasanas, Marjara vasana is so important, and with Marjara vasana we will get Marjara body, and not having Marjara body, that will have Marjara vasana. So we are born with Marjara vasana and Marjara body. Now, if our next life is going to be Marjara, from where are we going to get the mold of cat's mind and psyche and consciousness, tendencies, etc.? So Vyasa tells us the marvel about this function of smrti and vasana. So suppose our last incarnation as cat was 100 incarnations ago. That means we went into 99 different incarnations after being born as cat, and now we are human beings. From where do we get the Marjara vasana? Marjara vasanas are stored in our manomaya kosha, in our vasana shariram, vasana deham, linga shariram. We have the vasanas of Marjara. That is how human psyche is made up of, or psyche of any living being is made up of. So we have within ourselves the tendencies of cats and dogs and rats and mice and mosquitoes and elephants and dogs and horses or whatnot, or trees and plants. Every kind of vasana for every kind of life class is within us, is within the mind of all living beings. It's not that the human manifestation is only human mind, and the dog manifestation is only dog's mind, and lion's manifestation is only lion's mind. All minds are there in all minds. This is a metapsychological postulation that all minds exist in all minds. So, in the Janmantaranam, as Vyasa has taken the illustration of becoming a cat. If we are to become a cat, we will be taking the tendencies, vasanas, mind stuff, etc. of the cat, and not merely body of a cat. Now the question is, suppose the last cat incarnation for us was 100 incarnations ago, in between 99 incarnations, we might think that we lose the memory. Because in our mnemonic processes, in our human life, we lose many memories of the current life itself. After 30, 40, 50, 60 years, or with changes in our life conditions, old age particularly, we tend to forget so many things. So therefore, it might be deemed that we forget certain memories. Now here in the example, cat's birth, cat's life form birth was 100 life incarnations ago, means we might think that is all obliterated, gone into oblivion. No, that doesn't happen. Therefore, we have this archival manomaya kosha which retains the samskaras, and therefore we will be having the cat's mind, psyche, consciousness and embodiment to be taking birth as cat. So this is a marvelous arrangement that is there for living beings. Then it can be also, it should be understood that after cat's life form, that we are there for experiencing fruition of our set of karmas, we can come back to human form again, and we will come back to human form again after karma phala in subhuman, superhuman yonis. We come back to human form and again collect karmas, start doing karmas, because we are karma yoni, human beings karma yoni, and others are bhoga yoni. The subhuman is bhoga yoni. They don't commit karmas. They only enjoy the fruition of their karmas and then come back. So again, we will be able to become human being with human psyche, human consciousness, human mind stuff, human kinds of tendencies, etc. But that's the marvel in this transmigration of karma siddhanta. Now this cat's memory can come to us even if it is jātideśakālavyavahitānāmapyānantaryaṃ. Even if you have taken 100 incarnations, 99 as I said, hypothetically, in various life forms, dogs and horses and lions and mosquitoes and flies and human beings, and so many. Yet we will be immediately catching hold of that which is a sentence to our karma that we should be taking birth in cat form. So those samskars only will be tapped, and we will make movements in our transmigrations. Now that birth might be veiled by 99 incarnations, or that incarnation might have taken place in Deshantara, in a distant region, 10,000, 15,000 miles away. It can be even kalpashatena, after 100 kalpas, each one spanning 864 crores of years, that is 8,640 million years. Even if shatakalpas, 100 of such kalpas have passed between the previous marjara janma and upcoming marjara janma, yet memory comes back to us. And that's the marvel of even our mnemonic memory. We take for granted our memory, and we really don't investigate, inquire, and have any marvel about memory. So suppose if you have visited Delhi 25, 30 years back. Now, it is not that you are remembering Delhi every day in all those 25 years. But on a day, a friend comes and says, I am going to Delhi tomorrow. I am going for just tour. I want to do some sightseeing. Immediately your memory surfaces when you went to Delhi for sightseeing. So you get a clear picture, although that is 25, 30 years back. Now, instrument is somebody saying that, or your friend saying that he is going to Delhi for sightseeing, for a tour. And then your memories of Delhi come to surface. Which all places you visited? Where did you stay for all those days? And what was your experience in Delhi? It comes as if it was something yesterday. And that comes in a solid state. It doesn't erupt all the memories of 25 years, but it just brings the memory to surface of that 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and not all the memories lying in between present time and all the 25 years. That's the marvel of the memory. And we have considered the smrti vritti while dealing with vritti in the first chapter itself. We don't marvel it. We need to marvel what is this memory. Even the mnemonic memory. And here the reference is not to mnemonic memory as just now you heard from Srineet. That's a technical term, smrti and vasana. So the point is, the jātideśakālavyavahitānāmapyānantaryaṃ, although veiled by jati, desha, kala, and after a long time having elapsed, just as the smrtis can come up in the example I just now quoted 25-30 years back, your visit to Delhi, the vasanas similarly come up. The smrti of marjara yoni and the vasana of marjara yoni will come up when there is a sentence that you need to experience marjara yoni after the death in this life, that you are going to transmigrate to marjara yoni. The smrti, marjara smrti that you had 99 incarnations ago, 100 incarnations ago, and the samskaras which manifested 100 lives ago, they will just come to surface like the case of memory. So in case of memory, there is no difference between memory of yesterday and memory of yesteryears and memory of yesterdecades. It's not that something is very new and fresh memory and something is very old and rotten memory. Remember, when the memory surfaces, it really doesn't matter what is the time lapse. So similarly, vasanas and smritis don't really get affected by the time lapse in terms of even kalpas, shatakalpas, kalpantaras, in terms of several incarnations in between, 99 different incarnations in the example that we were taking now. They will surface like the memory surfaces, and like memory surfaces, the vasana surfaces. Therefore, one heads into marjara yoni very, very smoothly. So this is a marvelous arrangement in the Karma Siddhanta. And that is being opened out in the present sutra, because the reference comes here from the previous sutra that we saw, that tatha tadzipaka anugunanam eva abhivaktihi vasananam. So it's a very interesting sutra which covers a topic of Karma Siddhanta, with which the Astikas are very much familiar with it, but they do not know the nuances and implications. They only believe that in next life we can be not human beings, or in previous life we were perhaps not human beings, or we have been 8.4 kinds of life classes so far, and we are again subjected to become 8.4 classes of life forms. And how do we become all that? It is because all these are maintained in our archival, which is in the Manomaya Kosha, or called Linga Shariram, Vasana Shariram. All kinds of vasanas are there. It is because Abhivakti Karanam is not there, they don't manifest. Even now, I have vasana of ant to elephant, and from bacteria to blue whale. But it's not going to surface, because memory is not all the time in surface. It needs the Vyanjakanjana Karanam, so Vyanjakanjaka Karanam. Memory needs a many manifesting cause. It's not the memory is all the time on the surface. So it needs a manifesting cause. When the manifesting cause appears, it appears in solid state. That is the marvel of our psyche and consciousness. So that is being described here. That if it is a marjara janma hereafter, in the next life after our death, marjara vasana will be taken from our previous experience as marjara, and we will not only take marjara body of cat, but even the mind and tendencies of the cat. So that's how the consciousness is made up of. The consciousness is really a marvel. So just as we can transmigrate from being human beings to becoming marjara after its sentence is over, as lifespan in marjara class, it will come back to human form. Or it can go back to any other human form. The karma siddhanta entails that after cat it should be rat, after cat it should be elephant. So if any such sentence is there by karma siddhanta, the memories are there. We have all kinds of memory for transmigration. There is no shortage or no faded memories. So that's a marvel that memory is. That is why I recall one of the verses from Saptashati, Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Smrti Rupena Samsthita. This is the Smrti. It is not just memory that the English term has a connotation. This has a wider connotation. The Smrti in philosophical system has a wider connotation, which you just now heard from Srineet. We should not call it memory. It is Smrti. We should not call it tendency. It is vasana. These are technical terms in karma siddhanta. So the consciousness has so many dimensions to it. Memory is one of those. Perception, cognition, sensation, thought process, etc. So memory is one of those. Smrti is one of those. Memory is one of those. Smrti, vasanas are one of those, and they are all within our embodiment. Tiniest embodiment also contains tendency of blue whale. Human body contains a tendency of anything from tiniest microscopic life form, bacteria, to blue whale or elephant. That's the marvel of life. Anyway, so that is what is being said here, that they appear like smrti. They appear like memory. It can be old memory, but when it comes to surface, it doesn't give you indication that it's all unclear and it is there is ambiguity. But the memories can surface with manifesting cause. So with the manifesting cause, marjara memory, vasana, smrti will come to surface, and that's how we get the gravity to take birth in the womb of a cat. And we come out as a kitten with the whole mind, psyche, consciousness of a cat. Okay.
So now, with this sutra, we have seen that the vasanas will get manifested, even though the ones that are getting manifested were quote unquote created with a separation of birth, time, and space. But all of that presupposes that there has always been a previous experience of a similar nature, which is why those vasanas are there in the first place. Now, that particular aspect of it, that is the ānāditvaṃ, the fact that from time without beginning, this has always been there. These vasanas have been there. The vasanas are anadi. That gets established in the next sutra. So we look at Sutra 4.10. We may not be able to finish the sutra and the bhashya, so we'll see part of it. So 4.10 says, anāditvaṃ, cāśiṣo, nityatvāt. So tāsāmanāditvaṃ ca āshiṣah nityatvāt. Now tāsām, this is referring to the vasanas. Anāditvaṃ, beginninglessness. So the beginninglessness of vasanas, from where does that come about? How do we establish it? So the anāditvaṃ ca āshiṣah nityatvāt. So the one particular approach is taken here to establish that. Is that āshiṣah? Āshiṣa means the sort of the wish for the good of oneself. Okay, it is a sort of a kamana. It is a good wish for oneself. Now those āshiṣa, they are always there. They are nitya, and from that, and we'll see how when we come to the bhashya. From that fact or from that observation, the anāditvaṃ, the beginninglessness of vasanas, get established. That is Sutra 4.10, which is tāsām anāditvaṃ cāśiṣo nityatvāt. So Vyasa begins by saying, okay, one more thing, let me just clarify. So the word cha means and, tāsāmanāditvaṃ cha. So this cha is referred to combine the ānantaryaṃ from the previous sutra and the anāditvaṃ coming in this sutra. So the vasanas, there is ānantaryaṃ like covered in the previous sutra, and there is anāditvaṃ which will be covered in this sutra. So there's that small piece of explanation there for the term cha here. Okay. Tāsām vāsanānām āśiṣo nityatvāt anāditvaṃ. So Vyasa here is repeating the sentence of the sutra, completing it and making it clear. He is saying tāsām vāsanānām. So he is making it clear that the pronoun tāsām in the sutra refers to the vasanas. So vāsanānām āśiṣah nityatvāt, from the observation that the good wishes for oneself are nitya, eternal, the anāditvaṃ of the vasanas, the beginninglessness of vasanas, get established. Ya iyam atma shihi. So mana bhuvam bhuyasam iti sarvasya drishyate sāna svabhaviki. So firstly, Vyasa makes the observation that ya iyam atma shihi. So this specific good wish for oneself. Which one? Na bhuvam bhuyasam. Let me always be. May it not be the case that I don't exist anymore. So that kind of, in normal terms, we'll say the desire to exist. The desire that the existence not be terminated. That is a general feeling that is seen everywhere in all kinds of creatures. Sarvasya drishyate. Now Vyasa makes a statement. It is sāna svabhaviki. It is not svabhavikam. It is not innate part of the nature. It is not svabhaviki. Akasmat, he is going to clarify why he is saying that. So svabhaviki means natural, part of the one's constitution, how one is one constituted, the very nature of oneself. But Vyasa is saying that is not svabhaviki. Kasmat jātamatrasya jantoho ananubhūta maranadharmakasya dvesho dukkhanusmriti nimitto maranatrasah katam bhavet nata svabhavikam vastu nimittam upadatte. Tasmat anadi vasanānuviddham idam chittam nimittavashat kāśideva vāsanāha pratilabhya puruṣasya bhogāya upavartate iti. So essentially he's saying something that is just born and which is not experienced the torment of death. So, how will it have the aversion to it? So, there is a certain clarification need to be understood. This is elsewhere it is said, nahi swabhavikam karanantaram apekshate vannehe aushnyam pratyapi karanantara apeksha prasangat. So what happens is, let's say something is just born, it's like a baby, and if it is about to fall, immediately it will try to hold and protect itself. Now the question is, how does that happen? If it has never experienced the pain of falling, how does it know to cling and protect itself? One may say it is natural, but then, what is natural in some sense is always present. So like we said, nahi swabhavikam karanantaram apekshate vannehe aushnyam prati api karanantara apeksha prasangat. So normally what is natural is always present, like the fire is hot. That is swabhavikam, that is of its very nature. But here, there is a nimitta. When it is about to fall, it protects itself. So there is a nimitta that gives rise to that particular vasana or smriti that triggers that baby to cling to something to avoid the fall, even in the case where it has not experienced a fall ever before. And furthermore, just saying that, oh, this is natural or swabhavikam is also incomplete, because it is not happening all the time. It is always, it expects a nimitta. There is some trigger that gives rise to it. So where is that trigger coming from? So that is the question. And then to answer the question, tasmat anadi vasana anuviddham idam chittam. And therefore, since it is not the very part of a being and of the nature, then we have to say that, okay, there are vasanas that are anadi. So even though in this birth, after this birth, a fall has not been experienced, vasanas of fall and pain are present, and these vasanas are beginningless. And the chitta is completely permeated with it. Anuviddham idam chittam. So the chitta is completely permeated by such vasanas. So, nimitta vashat, based on the triggers or the things that are activating certain vasanas only, kāśiṣo vasanaha pratilabhya purushasya bhogaya upavartate. So, depending on the circumstances or the trigger that gives rise to the manifestation of certain vasanas, only certain vasanas get activated, and then having activated kāśiṣo, only certain vasanas. So kāśiṣo vasanaha pratilabhya purushasya bhogaya upavartate. So what happens once those vasanas get activated? Then that manifestation, sort of adopting those vasanas or due to those vasanas, that leads to the certain bhogas or certain experiences, certain behaviors of that particular creature, which is ultimately the bhoga of that creature, and also at the ultimate analysis, bhoga for the purusha. So the point being made is, based on this observation, it says it has to be something like vasanas, which are beginningless, which can explain this behavior, because there is clearly seen that there are certain nimitta that gives rise to this, and it is not natural in the sense that it is always there, like the heat of a fire. The nimitta seems to be triggering something, and what is being triggered has to be vasanas, which have to be eternal, because the same thing had not happened before, at least in this life, like in the example of the baby. And therefore, these vasanas must be beginningless. So that is what, we are seeing a part of the bhasha here, but we still get the essence of the sutra. and the Bhashya so far.
So, in the previous sutra, in our discussion, we said if there is even a long lapse of time, anantaryaṃ, that his previous marjara janma was some 100 lives ago, etc. So the very inquisitive question, or perhaps even a cavil, can be there. Okay, we have the smṛtisaṃskāras of marjara because we had taken birth as marjara previously. Maybe previously, once, twice, thrice, 10 times, etc. So there is always support system for our memory to borrow that memory or extract the memory from previous manifestation as a cat. But then what about the first manifestation as a cat? From where will it borrow? From where will it extract? So it's an hypothetical question, it's an inquiry, because we have this catalyzed thought process, and therefore this would be a logical question in an inquisitive mind coming up. Yes, I manifested as a cat previously, and therefore I have backing of samskars, and therefore I can draw from there. But what about the first birth as a cat? What was the resource for it to get marjara vasana when the life first time ever manifested as a cat? So the answer here is given by the Oriental philosophy, Sanatana Dharma, and Tattvagyan is that there is nothing like first manifestation. We have been eternal beings. So being eternal beings, absolutely. There is nothing like first time. And therefore there is no case such as first time manifestation in particular life class. We have manifested in every life class countless of times. And since we are eternal beings, there is nothing like first time. So this is a metaphysical aspect which should be considered, that we are eternal beings, absolutely eternal beings. It is not an overstatement to say that we are eternal beings, because sometimes there can be cavil that we are from solar system and sun itself is 4,500 million years old and our planet is 4,500 million years old. So prior to that there was no sun, therefore there was no earth, and therefore there were not you and me. But that is not true. We have been existing from time without beginning, absolutely. There is no exaggeration in a statement such as this, which metaphysics mentions. So there is no question of having a first manifestation of in any life form. So there will be always the baggage available for any samskar and smrti, for any manifestation. So that is what this sutra is answering, tāsāmanāditvaṃ. So there is anāditva for us. There is anāditva for smrti vasanas, smṛtisaṃskāras. Anāditvaṃ. There is nothing like beginning, and there is nothing like commencement or beginning or launch. We have concept of cyclic creation, not a linear creation. And that cāśiṣo, the desire to be all the time existent. What is the desire? In Abhidhamesha Sutra we had touched upon it, that I should always exist, I should not cease to exist. This is cāśiṣo, this is that ichha, this is that vasana in all living beings. And we don't accept the death as easily as we might think that it can be accepted or it cannot be accepted. It's a very natural tendency to have defense, that you just now heard. That even a baby has that kind of inner desire which becomes expressed, that it tries to protect itself from fall, although it has not experienced fall in that life. The experience is from previous life, etc., etc. The point is, there is no case of first time taking birth as cat or cow or dog or elephant. There is never such case because of anāditvaṃ. Now, is this vasana svabhaviki? And you just now heard it is not svabhaviki, it is sakaranam. That's an important thing to be taken note of. Heard why it is not svabhaviki and natural. Because if it is natural, it will be all the time on surface. But it is sakarana. That means it has some cause, instrumental cause, incidental cause, and with that cause it will work. Like memory needs a manifesting cause. The memory then comes to surface. The memory is not all the time on your mind. If that is the case, it's an obsession, it's not a memory. Memory will appear. How will it appear? With swavyajaka anjaka karanam. Swavyajana karanam. So that must trigger, and then memory surfaces. So see here, similarly here, it is not svabhaviki, it is sakaranam. The moment the life is in life form, any life form, it will be, that is the instrumental cause, or that is instrumental to trigger the memory of let me exist eternally and let me not cease to exist. So that cāśiṣo is there, and it is nityatvām. That desire, that ichha is nitya, always there, eternally there. So this ichha is not svabhaviki, but sakaranam, nimittam. It needs an instrumental cause. Child, the baby, is not all the time in defensive tactics. When it is about to face a danger, then it takes some measures. It's not that it is all the time having defensive gestures going on. I might fall anytime, so let me not fall. And it's not like that. It is not svabhaviki. It is sakaranam nimittam. But that is also clarified by Vyasa. So anyway, it's an important topic. Point is, there is nothing like first birth as marjara, first birth as dog or elephant or fish or any kind of life form. There is enormous baggage of samskars and vasanas of all classes, because we have been eternal beings. That's the metaphysics of Atma. Atma nityatvām. And therefore, it is always having attachment to the consciousness of the consciousness. And therefore, we have all these samskars and smṛtis with us. So the smṛti aspect, memory aspect in philosophical sense, is a marvel that we have as consciousness, as having a body of consciousness. Okay.
Okay. So let's stop for today. Continue in the next session. Let's recite the shlokas on Guruji. Vajñānikam pravaktritva āsaneshu kalavidam yogābhyāse ca tattvajñam vandeham sundaram gurum yoga vriksho hi lokesmin yat preranena vardhitah yogācārya guro tubhyam sundaraya namo namaha. Thank you.
Namaskar, all of you.